morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thursday, September the 17th, 2020. Regional Victoria is waking up to eased restrictions as fence around Melbourne is tightened. The federal government is working to bring home more Australians stranded overseas. Victoria's top doctor says casual security guards should not have been used in the bungled hotel quarantine program. Of course, we do agree with that. So follow us for live updates and live streams from Australia and from around the world. So in today's news, New South Wales eases restrictions to border communities, and fine for trying to leave Melbourne triples to 5,000 as regional restrictions ease. Western Australia holds out on a plan to bring more stranded Aussies home, and Melbourne's 14-day corona average drops below the crucial threshold. So that is good news there. Well, but first, let's take a look at what we have in store for today when we look at the weather-wise. With that, let's welcome Dilraj.
Good morning, everyone. Weather forecast for the rest of today is maximum 27 degree. Brisbane area is mostly sunny. Patchy fog was seen early in the morning, mainly in the west. Light winds becoming northeasterly 15 to 20 km per hour in the afternoon, then becoming light in the evening. Chances of rain are 5% only. Fire danger is high, and sun protection is recommended till 2:50 p.m. UV index is predicted to reach 8, that is very high. So till tomorrow, stay safe and have a good day.
Thank you very much for that. And the weather is looking very good out there. It's just a wonderful, wonderful day out there. But once again, fire danger still remains high. And please make sure that you take care when you're moving in and out and about with that UV rating. Right now, let's go for the headlines for today, making news.
Push to allow thousands of extra international arrivals each week is still very much up in the air this morning, with not all states on board. The Deputy Prime Minister, Michael McCormack, yesterday wrote to premiers asking them to take extra numbers in hotel quarantine to allow more stranded Australians to come home. New South Wales has agreed, but Western Australia's Premier has accused the Commonwealth of ambushing it with that request. Melburnians are this morning living inside a ring of steel, facing $5,000 fines if they attempt to visit regional Victoria, where coronavirus restrictions eased at midnight. Regional pubs, hotels and beauty salons are reopening for the first time in months. Small dinner parties in the home are back on, and outdoor gatherings of up to 10 people are allowed. As many as 1,200 staff at Melbourne's RMIT University will lose work by the end of the year. That is 4 times the amount previously announced. In a statement, RMIT says it is facing financial pressures but won't confirm actual job numbers. The Australian National University has also announced it could lose 465 jobs, while 250 staff at the University of New South Wales are also being made redundant. And a hurricane that made landfall overnight on America's Gulf Coast has weakened after causing catastrophic flooding and winds of more than 160 kilometres per hour. Alabama, Florida and Mississippi have all declared states of emergency.
And that's the breaking news for today. Well, right now, let's go and take a look at this wonderful win in cricket. Well done.
Goes again, flat this time, 6 again.
Well, you wondered, I answered it for you.
Oh, he's hit that hard, that could go all the way, does it? No, just short. 1 bounce, 4, remember, Rashid had been moved finer.
Stark goes high and long. Archer's underneath it. Fantastic stroke from Mitchell Stark. The first ball of Rashid's over flies for 6. Stark sweeps, and that's the game. It is Australia's game. It is Mitchell Stark with 11 from 3 balls, a sweetly hit 6 over mid-on, and a sweep for 4. Look at the delight in the Australian dressing room. A wonderful game of cricket has come to an end, and it ends with Australia in victory.
And Australia wins by 3 wickets there. Wonderful, well done, congratulations. Some good news coming out during these sort of times. Well, right now, let's go and take a look at what our Premier has to say about Queensland. And she knows that people are suffering and people are troubling, but there are things that she needs to do.
I want to see Queenslanders come home as well. If they're trapped overseas, especially with these second and third waves that are happening, people are concerned about their lives, and I can understand that. We want everyone to be safe, and of course we will do whatever we can. They don't know what's happening, the uncertainty. They want to get home to loved ones as well. Of course, we've seen increased numbers of COVID in the UK. We've seen 10,000 cases of COVID in France in one day. So we are seeing now countries having not just a second phase, but a third phase of COVID. I think it's imperative that we get back to Australia as many Australians as we possibly can. First thing is the federal government can utilise its aircraft to bring people back, and they can set up accommodation for that. But the federal government has resources as well. You know, the states have had to do the heavy lifting. They have assisted with quarantine with ADF, and I appreciate that. But there's a lot of resources that are needed, especially in making sure, especially with our police. Every time we put a new hotel up, there's extra police that are needed to look at those hotels as well. So, you know, I'm quite sure that as a nation we can address these issues. I would be more than happy to look at taking more Australians here where we have the capacity to do so, because I don't want families to be separated by very, very long distances overseas when they are isolated and when a lot of countries are still in lockdown.
And of course, that is good news. And as you mentioned, that the federal government should chip in as well. And we will hear from our Prime Minister very, very soon on that, and we'll look at the response from that. But while we are on Queensland, let's hear from our Deputy.
The other thing that Deb Fregleton and Stephen Bennett did last week, and David Batt, the member for Bundaberg, they backed in $23 billion of election commitments. Now, this is a party that said they're not going to increase taxes or create new taxes, and they're not going to spend more than Queensland raises through revenue. Now, revenue's been smashed in Queensland over 2 years by more than $6 billion. So the only way that Stephen Bennett and David Batt and Deb Fregleton can fund their election commitments is by cutting, sacking and selling. We've made it clear we're going to borrow to keep Queenslanders in jobs, to get 130,800 Queenslanders back into work, to back in our frontline emergency services. So today I'm calling on David Batt and Stephen Bennett and Deb Fregleton to say, cut what, cut when, cut where, cut who.
So, as he mentioned, that their plan is to borrow to make sure that they can keep the government going and keep jobs in place. And if LNP comes in, they would have to cut, and that's what he wants to know is where would those cuts be to come out with that budget predictions to say what's going to happen. Well, right now, as we mentioned before, that we will also look at the response from our Prime Minister. But before we go to that news, this wonderful news, remember 1 year ago on this day, there was this story about this young boy, who raised 1.8 million for the bushfires. And now he talks to our Prime Minister 1 year later, and just see how confident he is. There's not many countries where, a youngster would come out and talk to a prime minister of that country in the manner that he does. It's a testament to the parents for bringing up a kid who is so smart and so down to earth. So just, he's talking to the prime minister as if he's just talking to his best mate or someone in his class, without that fear that, or that he's talking to someone high up there, just like he's talking to his mate. So let's listen to that.
Hi.
How you going, Jack?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad, Gee, can you believe it was a year ago that we went up to Dalby?
Wait, was it actually a year ago?
It's a year ago.
That's crazy.
It is.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, well, you've grown up a bit.
Yeah.
And a lot's happened since we went, hasn't it?
Yeah, definitely, quite a bit.
Yeah, with COVID and everything. How's your year been?
Yeah.
How have you coped with it all?
Yeah, I think it's been a good year. I mean, no cases near me, which is always nice. But I think COVID was a really weird, unpredictable time. But I mean, it was a lot of fun. So yeah.
So were you doing school from home and everything?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see like how everyone just clicked into place and it all just happened, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah.
How did you find doing school at home?
I think there's some perks with it, and then it's also sometimes a bit hard because it's hard to get your teacher's attention, and it's still pretty hard. So yeah.
So
yeah,
how's
definitely.
farming for a farmer going?
Yeah, it's definitely been quite an unpredictable year, but it's been great so far. I've had so many cool adventures already, and the day's this Friday, which is really exciting. But yeah, it's been a pretty cool year so far. So yeah.
And so your annual day this year, you're doing it a bit different because of COVID. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, well, this year it's just been quite a long year for parents and kids. I obviously still want people to dress up, but you don't have to bring in $5. It's about shopping local, shopping Aussie, because COVID's a bit of a handful, and I think everyone just needs to have no stress, and donating's a bit harder. So just buy Aussie produce, and it gets straight directly back to our farmers, which is what I want everyone to do.
Mate, you always come up with good ideas.
Thank you.
Did you get the help from Mum with that one? It's all 100%.
We were thinking of ideas on how we can kind of change it this year, because it's been like quite a long year. But I think not donating and just shopping local was kind of the idea, and it fits, you know.
Well, that's what, you know, if people continue to do that longer term, not just now, then, you know, that provides the longer term benefit. It's good. There's been a lot more rain since we went to Dalby together, which is good news.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still lots of the country that's in drought. That's obviously very true, but there's a lot of parts of the country that are looking a lot better.
That's definitely
than what we've seen.
Yeah, that's definitely something positive.
I was talking to some people who live up around that Dalby Way the other day, and I was asking how it was going, and it's certainly a lot better than when we were there. And so that's good news for the families we met up there. But you're still helping all of them, mate. You're getting in behind them. You're encouraging them, which is, I think, one of the most important things you can do. It's been a hard year with COVID. People need hope. And what you're doing, I think, reminds people that it doesn't matter who you are or where you are, you can always make a difference. And so I bet your parents are still pleased as punch with you, mate, and very proud of what you're doing, and so they should be.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's been very good that people are getting rain out there. That's very positive, but yeah, we just got to keep fighting through, because it's been quite a long year with everything, floods, fires, and now COVID, so just got to keep going.
Have you been back on Benny Fordham's program? Has he had you on in the morning?
Yeah, he hasn't had me on in the morning yet, but I've been on the afternoon a couple times, which is always fun. Ben's really nice, so yeah.
I'll send him a message and tell him it's time you guys hooked up again, and you can, and particularly with the, you know, how you're doing things this year. I think that's an important opportunity to get that message out. I just wanted to give you a quick buzz to see how you're doing, and mate, not surprisingly, you seem to be doing pretty well, and more importantly, you're helping a lot of other people do a lot better too. And it's great how you just keep sticking at it. How many years has it been now?
I think it's been like almost 3 years, which just sounds crazy. Feels like it was yesterday. Yeah,
but look, when you do something you love, it does feel like it goes pretty quick. But 3 years, that's a big effort. To keep it going and to maintain it, you know, and not run off and get distracted. I think that's tremendous how you've done that. And I think it's a good example to others as well. When you make a commitment like this, you hang in there, you stick at it, and that's what you're doing. So well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Really proud of you.
Thank you very much for having a chat with me.
Oh, it's good. Well, we'll check on you again and see you again. But I'll put the hard word on Benny, and I reckon it'd be good for you guys to catch up as well. He did me that favour of introducing us, so I think that's tremendous. So good on you for everything you're doing, and I'll make sure we'll be following those rules as well.
Yeah.
We try and follow them most of the time with the produce and everything. And one of the great things about this job is I met so many people from so many districts. And they're always asking me to share in their produce. So it's why I try and do as much exercise as I can. Otherwise, you know, I won't get that healthy.
Yeah. Mum just told me then, I think on Thursday we're meeting up with Ben, so that'll be
great.
Yeah.
Oh, you give me a bit of cheek for me too.
Okay, I will.
Good on you, Jack. Well done, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the year, and I have no doubt you'll be sticking at this because I know how passionate you are about it. Well done, mate.
Thank you so much. Have a
Cheers.
good rest of your day.
See you
Bye.
later.
Now, isn't that wonderful? That's, they don't get any more fair income or true blue than that. Love that kid, and amazing what he has been able to do, and that confidence, and of course, all the words that he says, all the news that, he talked about and everything. It's just amazing. Wonderful, Jack. Well done. See, that's what Australia is about. This is our kids. This is the way we've been brought up. When people many times talk about, oh, okay, what's the Australian way? Look at this kid. He represents, just that look on his face. Everything about him is just that fair income. Well done. So proud of you. Well, right now, on the second note, this is the news. See, normally that kind of segment, when it runs for that long, I would have cut the segment. But, I just could not get myself to cut that segment because, just loved what he was saying. And, that was just amazing. Well, right now, on more serious note, let's look at this news about how people will be brought back home once again with the Prime Minister.
Meantime, you're planning to bring more Australians home. How will you do that, PM? Will you use RAAF or charter Qantas planes? I mean, there's a lot of planes sitting idle right now.
Well, no, there's no need for that. I mean, what we simply had to do was lift the caps. The states asked me back in July to put caps on entry into our big ports in Sydney and Queensland and in Western Australia. Obviously, people couldn't go into Victoria then because of what was happening, and there was pressure on the quarantine system. So we agreed to that, but we're well past that now. We've done a full review of all of those quarantine arrangements in those states. What's happening is New South Wales, they'll take about 3,000 a week, up 500. WA will go from 500 to 1,000. Queensland will go from 500 to 1,000. We've got ADF supporting all of those arrangements. I mean, in Western Australia, there'll be about one ADF officer for every 10 people who come in, and that's just with the ADF they've got now. So, I think that decision's been made. That starts Friday week. We'll get 2,000 more people in coming through normal commercial flights. They'll go through the normal hotel quarantine arrangements. There's plenty of hotel rooms in all of those cities. I particularly want to thank New South Wales. They're just getting on with this, and they're taking half the number. And so they're people who are going home through Sydney, then on to Queensland or Tasmania or particularly Victoria. I mean, but this is going to let Western Australians come home to Western Australia, Queenslanders come home to Queensland. They were all taking more than this before the caps were put in place than what we're asking them to do now. So look, it's a decision. I think it's pretty reasonable. We should get on with it.
Get on with it. Yes, I think that is wonderful news once again there, and looks like we will have Australians back home by Christmas, and that would be wonderful. And right now, let's go and look at one of the event that we are supporting, and we're very proud to be supporting this event here because this event is in appreciation of all the frontliners. Mind you, the interview will be in Hindi, but you'll pick up bits and pieces in there in English. This is what we've been able to do. We've been supporting this event, which is showing gratitude to our frontliners. And there's three groups which have come together to put this on. So right now, let's go to that the interview, and we will talk to Mithun Chakravarti on that matter. तो जी बताऊं, आज हमारे साथ हमारे स्टूडियो में हमारे खास मेहमान है मिथुन चक्रवर्ती. मिथुन जी, आपको बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आज हमारे स्टूडियोज में.
Thank you very much, Umesh ji, for having me here.
It's wonderful to have you here. और अच्छा, आप बताइए कि आज आप यहाँ पर कुछ विशेष कारण से आए हुए हैं, क्योंकि ये जो होने जा रहा है इवनिंग ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड, इसके बारे में कुछ बताइए. क्या होने जा रहा है, क्या कुछ होने का?
Okay, well, basically I'm representing three groups tonight. ये जो शो हो रहा है on 19th of September will start at 6 p.m. on Facebook Live. Initially our concept was to do on live on stage, पर वो हम लोग कर नहीं पाएंगे during this lockdown restriction. पर हमने सोचा शो करना है और इसीलिए हमने ऑन फेसबुक लाइव में जाने का डिसीजन लिया. This show is to show our gratitude to all the frontline workers who are entirely working day and night during this COVID time. And हमारा 3 ग्रुप है इसमें, मावर्सेल, सरगम म्यूजिक एकेडमी, ऑस्ट्रेलियन इंडियन थिएटर एंड लेट्स बॉलीवुड. हम तीनों ग्रुप मिलके एक कल्चरल इवेंट का आयोजन किया है on 19th of September. I hope you all be there. Please log into Facebook live show.
तो मैं तो ये जो Facebook लाइव पर होगा तो एक तो इस पर लोगों को पहले से रजिस्टर करना पड़ेगा कि ये पब्लिक इवेंट होगा?
It's a public event. It's a free public event, उमेश जी. And well, हमारे अगर इवेंट पेज पे आप इंटरेस्टेड या गोइंग देंगे तो आपको पॉपअप भी होगा ड्यूरिंग at 6 p.m. and also please go to our page and like our page so that you will get some notification on 19th.
हाँ बिल्कुल, आप पहले से भी मार्क कर लीजिए, पॉपअप हो जाएगा कि जिस समय ये शो लाइव जाएगा आपको नोटिफिकेशन आ जाएगा कि दिस शो इज नाउ लाइव. अच्छा, ये लाइव तो होगा और फेसबुक पर बहुत सारे लोग जुड़ेंगे आपके साथ, ये तो होगा ही होगा, होना ही है. अच्छा, उस दिन के लिए जो प्रोग्राम है, जैसे आपके 3 से ग्रुप मिलकर कर रहे हैं, तो क्या कुछ देखने को मिलेगा लोगों को? कुछ झलकियां दिखा दीजिए, पूरा शो तो नहीं बता पाएगा.
Yes, it will be a unique show, Miss Ji. The show, इस शो में डांस भी है, ड्रामा भी है, सिंगिंग भी है. हमने एक यूनिक कॉम्बिनेशन इस शो में लाने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं. We are working day and night to make this event successful. So, Let's Bollywood will represent all the dance numbers. Australian Indian Theatre presenting a drama, and Sargam Music Academy will present different style of singing. And we are very blessed in this event. A acharya, a spiritual guru, is participating as well from Germany, and he is going to talk about the positive side of COVID, and he will do some chanting as well.
अच्छा, बिल्कुल. देखिए, जो कोविड का है, लोग चाहे कुछ भी कह ले, इसमें बहुत खूबियां भी है. देयर आर मेनी गुड पार्ट्स अबाउट दिस एज वेल. लेकिन अब जब स्पिरिचुअल लीडर है वो भी आकर उस पर बातचीत करेंगे तो ये तो बहुत ही अच्छा बात होगा. तो अच्छा, एक बार फिर हमारे सुनने वालों को आप बता दीजिए किस समय कैसे उन्हें लॉग इन करना पड़ेगा और क्या कुछ उन्हें देखने को मिल रहेगा.
सो इवेंट ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड हमारा इवेंट का नाम है ऑन फेसबुक. ऑन 19th of September at 6 p.m. हमारा शो शुरू होगा, and it will be around 2-hour show, so 6 to 8. And as I said, we'll start sharp at 6, and as promised, we'll do our full entertainment. आप show देखोगे तो definitely you will say yes, you have seen something new and unique. And the main show is all about to show our gratitude to all the frontline workers.
हाँ बिल्कुल, क्योंकि ये फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर्स जो है इस समय, वो कहते हैं ना, हीरो इनके इस समय के लिए वही देवता है.
Absolutely.
क्योंकि अपना समय निकाल कर और अपने जान हथेली पर लेकर, जैसे कहते हैं ना कि बीइंग आउट देयर, वहाँ पर सभी के साथ अंडर दिस सर्कमस्टांसेस और सभी कुछ ये जानते हुए कि वहाँ पर क्या कुछ होने का है, फिर भी दे गोइंग देयर. सो दैट्स वंडरफुल. ये बहुत ही अच्छा वंडरफुल कॉन्सेप्ट है. और फेसबुक लाइव पर, जैसे कि मिथुन ने अभी बताया, आप सभी आराम से बैठ जाइए, तैयार होकर बैठ जाइए. आपको कहीं गाड़ी लेकर नहीं जाना है, पार्किंग का भी प्रॉब्लम नहीं. आप अपने लॉन्ज में बैठिए, चाय ले लीजिए, ड्रिंक लेना ड्रिंक भी ले लीजिए, आराम से बैठ के शो का मनोरंजन लीजिए. पूरी तरीके से जुड़ जाइए शो के साथ में. कमेंट्स में जो कमेंट्स डालना मत भूलिएगा, कमेंट्स आप जरूर से अपना डालते रहिए. और ये जो यूनिक शो है इस जमाने के लिए, क्योंकि अभी का समय ऐसा ही समय है जब कि लोग सभी से वर्चुअली ही मिलते हैं, तो वर्चुअली मिलने से के और ये ऑनलाइन मिलने का जो तरीका है, और इस माध्यम को इस तीनों ग्रुप ने मिलकर वो किया है, बहुत ही अच्छी बात है। और इसमें देखिए कि किसी को ग्रेटिट्यूड देना, किसी के लिए ये कहना कि आप लोग अच्छे काम कर रहे हैं, अपना ये थैंकफुलनेस जो है वो शो करना, ये बहुत कम होता है। लोग हमेशा बहुत सारे काम है जो समाज में भी लोग करते हैं, लेकिन कोई कभी किसी को थैंक्स भी नहीं बोलता है, लेकिन उल्टा ये कहते हैं कि उन्होंने ये किया वो किया। अब भले आप कितना कर लो, द इवनिंग ऑफ ग्रेटिट्यूड, ये जो थॉट भी आया आप लोगों के पास ये कॉन्सेप्ट के लिए, आपको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत बधाई।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। एंड हमने सोचा बीइंग इन द क्रिएटिव वर्ल्ड, अगर हमारे तरफ से कुछ भी हम पॉजिटिव दिखा सके थ्रू आवर पैशन, चाहे पैशन कहिए या प्रोफेशन कहिए, through music we can show our gratitude towards the frontline people. They are really working hard. And also I would like to thank Umesh ji. Thank you very much for giving us this platform to present ourselves for our upcoming show. So thank you very much Brisbane Indian Times and Australian Indian Radio for giving us this opportunity. And my earnest request to everyone, आप लोग ज़रूर ऑनलाइन आइए और हमारा शो देखिए। I'm pretty sure you'll enjoy the night.
बिल्कुल, तो इसी के साथ आप सभी से मिलते हैं ऑनलाइन an evening in gratitude पर। Be there.
Thank you.
So as you have heard, ladies and gentlemen, that's how there will be on this weekend, and make sure that you go on there, and we have shared that link in the comment section, so you can take a look at what it's about. It's about giving gratitude to all our frontliners, and it's going to be a wonderful show, and it's been put together by the three organizations, Let's Bollywood, Australian Indian Theatre, and Sargam Music. So it's a great initiative of all three coming together and putting this on. And thank you, Mithun, for coming into the studios and sharing that news with all our listeners. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now it's time for a very quick commercial break.
ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी 1989 से लेकर अब तक का विश्वसनीय और माननीय ब्रिस्बेन का रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। उषा चंद्रा, जो कि ग्लोबनेट की डायरेक्टर है, अपने ग्राहकों को ईमानदार और एथिक सर्विसेज देती हैं। अगर आप ब्रिस्बेन की प्रॉपर्टी में पूंजी लगाना चाहते हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोफेशनली मैनेज किया जाए, तो आप आज ही कांटेक्ट कीजिए उषा चंद्रा को। लैंडलाइन नंबर है 38654466 और मोबाइल नंबर है 0419775416। और आप प्रॉपर्टी की अधिक जानकारी और करंट अपडेट्स के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे लॉगिन कर सकते हैं। हमारी वेबसाइट है www.globenetreality.com.au। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी आपका अपना लोकल रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। हमारा पता है ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, शॉप नंबर 5, 2281 Sandgate Road, Bundall, Queensland. Globenet Reality. Real estate is our world.
And it definitely is the world. So ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to include your advertisement in the segment, please contact Dr. Charita Deshpande. Send us an email and we'll gladly include your functions or your event in that as well. Well, right now there's so much talk about international students. And as we know, that so much revolved around international students. Of course, it's become... it became a very, very big industry here in Australia, and one of the fastest growing industries as well. But with COVID in place and everything else happening, so what has been happening in that field? What's been happening in that area? So we will take a closer look at that in the next two clips, and we'll look at how there are so many empty nests now. So what's becoming of them, and what will happen, moving forward? Will the numbers get back to that level, and will the students return?
Higher education is one of Australia's biggest exports now. Hosting international students is a $40 billion business, and 30% of that was brought in by Chinese students last year, followed by from India, Nepal and Vietnam. Researchers at education think tank the Mitchell Institute estimate in the unlikely event borders open from next year, the sector will have lost $10 billion. But if difficulties getting into the country drag on, unis could lose up to $19 billion over the next 3 years. And the revenue hit is already taking a huge toll, with redundancies and cancellations of research and programs. And it's not just university campuses affected. Every dollar lost in tuition fees means $1.15 lost in the broader economy, because students do spend money. More than a third of international student spending is on hospitality and retail. And they're not an insignificant proportion of the population either, exceeding 30% in some inner city and campus suburbs. One sector reeling from the shock to student numbers is purpose-built student accommodation. There are hundreds of privately owned developments reliant on rental revenue, largely from international students. As Stephanie Chalmers reports, providers say they could be part of the solution for bringing students back on shore.
It's mid-morning, so empty seats aren't an uncommon sight in student housing, but the halls are unusually quiet this year. Jonathan Glixton runs Igloo, which houses university students off campus in inner Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane.
Typically, it will range between 60% to 80% international students and the remainder domestic students.
COVID-19 has kept thousands of international students from entering the country, and those existing students that have stayed are observing social distancing.
We've seen our occupancy, which would typically be around 95% plus, it's been halved by COVID.
It's a huge market actually. It's
This precinct in Sydney is walking distance to several universities and a short bus trip to others. Igloo alone has 3 student accommodation facilities within a few hundred metres of each other.
You've seen a lot of overseas wealth funds, pension funds and sovereign wealth funds actually investing into the market. It's interesting that it forms a real estate investment, but it's also seen by a number of these groups as almost a form of infrastructure.
There are 113,000 purpose-built student beds across the country and a further 45,000 in the pipeline. Thousands of those beds are currently empty. Last year, tens to hundreds of thousands of international students arrived each month. In April this year, just 30 people arrived on student visas. The most recent figures show that in July, there were just 40 arrivals.
How long have you been in the country?
Seema Shah has worked in international student recruitment for nearly 2 decades. She says with the on-campus experience compromised, students are also leaving.
I've been talking to a few other agencies also and friends, and they all are saying the same thing, that students are going back.
There was a pilot program in the works that would have seen several hundred international students return to universities in Canberra, but the second wave of coronavirus in Victoria put that on hold. A new pilot that will see up to 300 international students return to South Australia is due to get off the ground this month. But both the federal and state governments have told the business the details are yet to be finalised, including which countries those students will come from. A major hurdle is the cap on international arrivals put in place by the states. Federal Education Minister Dan Tehan says it's up to the premiers to ensure that no international students take the spot of an Australian trying to return home from overseas. Returning students will need somewhere to quarantine, and the solution could be found close to campus.
Student accommodation facilities don't allow anyone else in, so they could really play a key role in providing quarantine hotels of their own type to help get students back in.
We're working really closely with the state governments and the universities to try and achieve that.
But even if restrictions ease early next year, the disruption will continue to be felt. And a diplomatic row with the biggest international student market, China, is a threat to the recovery.
It will take a few years to recover from this sort of crisis once we actually start getting students coming back in that first year, to then convert them to second and third years and actually build that pipeline that actually helps fill the beds.
The impact COVID-19 has caused, I think it will take at least 3 years if Australia plays its cards smartly to attract international students.
Social distancing unlikely to be a problem anytime soon.
So call it what you may. Many people have said that, about international students before, but if you look at all those student accommodations, the universities and all the colleges and all the infrastructure that had been put in place, that was all due to the numbers of students coming in. Now, on the other side of the debate, there were many people who said, many of the students are not genuine students. Their main aim of coming to Australia is to get some way, a pathway to a permanent residence. So, they don't come here just for studying, getting a degree and going back home. That would be a typical or genuine student. But, everyone has a motive of trying to earn money, send money back home, make a life in Australia. And many have come, many have settled successfully and done that. But, they've all come as students, so been classified and used that pathway on that stepping stone to get into the country. And the country needs that as well, because there's a lot of jobs that need to be done. There's so much relying on the students as well, so much the infrastructure that's been put in place, and it brings in a lot of economy, especially from India and China, the two countries. But right now, China, as it was said in that report, that there might be problems getting people in from China at this point in time. As we know, with India, once when our relationship got a little bit bad with all the student basings in Melbourne, which started from Melbourne, and when I was appointed as the Queensland's Indian Students Liaison Officer, we tried and kept those kind of copycat incidences happening right here in Queensland. At that time, we had seen a decline in numbers. Well, right now, of course, again, because of the COVID situation, the numbers are declining. 40 arrivals in July. That is just, it's unsustainable for looking at all those student accommodations and other infrastructures that have been put in place. So in view of that, the new student visa application fees, etc., have been dropped. It's just 10%. Just 10% of what they used to be before. So let's take a very quick look at that report.
So when will the government's plans to bring back international students get off the ground? And are there plans to help plug the sector's billion-dollar black hole? Today, the Australian National University and Uni of New South Wales let go around 800 staff amid warnings of many more cuts to jobs, courses and research to come. Education Minister Dan Tehan joined me. Minister, student visa applications are just 10% of what they were this time a year ago. Do you agree this isn't just a university problem, though? It's also an economy-wide problem.
Well, we know from last year, when the international student market was at full strength, that international students helped create 250,000 jobs and $40 billion worth of national income. So there is no question that we want to see the international student market resume and get back to where it was, because it's so important for creating jobs in our economy and for creating national income. And that's why National Cabinet has agreed that we will commence pilots as soon as we can get issues sorted within state borders, but also with those returning Australians who need to come back, and the caps that are in place at the moment, because we all understand that not only is it important for our university sector, but it's also important for our national economy.
Last month, Trade Minister Simon Birmingham announced that up to 300 students would start arriving in Adelaide as part of a pilot program. How many have arrived so far?
No, look, none. Obviously, there was an announcement that the South Australian government was keen to commence on that pilot, but we've also made it very clear in the discussions that we've had with the South Australian government that we've got to sort out those internal border issues and also those issues around returning Australians. And we continue to work through those issues, and it's welcome news that today, I think it was, the South Australian government announced that their borders are now open for those residents from the ACT, and it looks likely that the same will be in place for New South Wales as of next week. So while we continue to deal with those issues and deal with them in a favourable way, then we'll be able to look at what we can do to get those pilot flights up and running.
So how soon do you expect to get them up and running? What's the best case scenario?
Obviously hard to tell at this stage, but we continue to have very close discussions with the South Australian government. We continue to work through the issues in particular.
So we'll have to leave that report there. So as the Minister said that this year the fees has been reduced, and of course they're working with all the states and territories to try and see when and how the borders could be eased and how do they overcome the quarantine issue as well. So these are the issues. It will take time. We can't, I can't see the numbers just growing overnight. It will take time, and slowly as we get back to normality, numbers might increase. But I can see that those student accommodations, a lot of those things might be empty for a little bit longer. And in relation to that, Australian Indian Radio and Brisbane Indian Times has been invited to a conference, a media press conference today with the Minister Alan Tudge as well. So there's lots that's happening, and also don't forget that Suman Dua comes in here with a update on migration as well. So stay tuned to that as well to get all the updates on the new laws that have come in as well. Well, right now it's time to say goodbye, but before that, let's take a very quick look at all the functions and events.